You're listening to the Mile You're In podcast. Everything running related from 100 meters to 100 miles. And now, here's your host, Phil Patterson Jr.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Mile You're In podcast. As always, before we get started, I have to thank and show appreciation to my Patreon supporters, Becky from Miami, Francine from Pembroke Pines, and to the random donation and pledge that I got last night. They requested to remain anonymous. I'm going to do that out of respect, but huge thank you. I know you'll listen to this episode eventually. Again, as I said last night, from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate what you're doing. Let's get into the episode, which is called Running is BS. I guess you can consider this the censored version. You guys that have been listening know I prefer not to bring profanity onto the show if possible, just so that it's accessible to anybody who wants to listen to it. I know sometimes people can see that little rated E for explicit content listed next to the podcast description, and it might turn them off from listening. So at least this way, they might turn it off partially through. There is no profanity until the very end. There's a little special thing I'm gonna have at the end. I had to include it, but the idea for this podcast came from my favorite podcast, which is called Running is BS, the podcast that loves to hate running. Most of us have that love-hate relationship with running, and we often find ourselves complaining that running is BS. They noticed this was a niche that running podcasts were not covering, and they have taken on the task. The two hosts, Amy and Stewart, run in Cardiff, Wales, which is in the UK. Both are hilarious, and their frustrations and experiences are relatable. At the end of this episode, as I just mentioned, I'm going to play a parody song that Stewart did. He played this on a recent episode, and I was listening to that episode while out on a run. And when he got to the chorus, I was not expecting him to say what he said, and I just started busting out laughing mid-run, which I'm pretty sure looked weird to anyone driving by as I was passing the oncoming traffic. But with that said, this is what I would consider my, in no particular order, Running is BS personal top 5. I'll try to make it as funny as possible so it doesn't sound like I'm just whining and moaning and complaining. I'll try to keep the venting to a minimum, but no promises, okay, guys? We're talking about things that frustrate me, so it's bound to just come out in the tone. But let's start with the first one, which would be gnats. They were instantly the first that came to mind. I mentioned this to them. They read emails and tweets that they get from their listeners, and I wrote this and sent this in about my experience with gnats, and they read it on the show, and I found it funny because apparently gnats is not an American word. I don't know. I still haven't Googled that and looked into it, but they were surprised that I had used the word gnats to describe them. But that's what I've been told they were called since I was a kid, so that's just what I call them. But again, they were the first that came to my mind, most likely because this is the time of year they're just starting to return and reminding us that our exercise is being done in their way. Thankfully, these don't seem to be an issue year-round, but when they do make their appearance, they are an extreme nuisance. Running is already difficult as you're trying to stay aware of where you're stepping to be sure not to fall or injure yourself. You got to focus on your breathing. So the last thing you need are these annoying gnats getting in your eyes, your nose, ears, mouth. Add in being sweaty from this Florida heat and humidity. This causes you to use your sticky hands that are also covered with these gnats. You're trying to use them to wipe the gnats off your face and your body, and all you end up doing is moving them around because they're stuck to you. They're hard to pick off, and honestly, what's the point? Because in 30 seconds, you'll have another 10 to 20 in that clean spot you just wiped off anyways. It's like, and then you add in my beard. They get caught in, and it's worse because they're crawling around, they're trying to escape. I have this mixed itching and ticklish feeling. People probably think, oh, look, there's the homeless crackhead running again, as I'm like scratching and rubbing myself constantly mid-run. It's like living close to the Everglades definitely makes it worse. But yeah, they can definitely go away and never be missed. Like, they fly in packs and you rarely see them. You just eventually run into their fly zone and instantly start dropping F-bombs while you're gagging on the ones that fly into your throat. It's so gross. If you don't have water, just prepare for a miserable rest of the run with that feeling as you debate swallowing it or hoping to cough it out. Like, I've gone through times where I'm just gagging and hoping nobody's watching because it's just embarrassing. Oh man. So the next one would be the lack of trash cans. Now this one probably doesn't count in some people's opinion because it has nothing to do with running itself, but since I'm going to talk about things that I hate when I'm running, this technically counts to me. Littering is already my pet peeve, so as I'm running and seeing trash constantly all over the place, it really bothers me. Even worse when I see it within feet of a garbage can. I've had many encounters with people that I witnessed littering, and I picked it up in front of them, kept running while telling them how I felt about them. But I get it. Nobody wants to walk around with trash in their hands longer than a few seconds. Cities do need to do better and place more trash cans around, especially at places like bus stops, because that's probably the most littered area that I've encountered when I'm out running. Yes, people should be better and not litter, but this goes both ways. Cities can't promote keeping the city clean if they're not going to provide the opportunities to properly dispose of trash. I've run miles at a time with trash in my hand during these long runs that I do on the weekend, wondering when I'm going to finally see a trash can so I can throw this stuff away. I've been extremely tempted many times to just toss it into a pile of other trash that I come across, but I don't want to be that guy. But then you actually find one and it's overflowing with trash because it's been sitting there for weeks without being emptied. Like, it's frustrating. I will also add, it really annoys me when I see running or cycling gel wrappers on the ground, because we have to do better than that. Like, we're supposed to be the ones setting the example since we're complaining about this. I do have to say though, to the city of North Lauderdale, they've recently added trash cans. They've drilled them to some of the walls around here, which is pretty interesting, but it was encouraging to see some effort finally being made because they've been putting these anti-littering signs all around. So for them to finally step up and do something to help with that was pretty encouraging to see. The next would be people ignoring crosswalks and stop signs. I'm starting to realize how much people annoy me whether I'm running or not, because everything is people related. But my worst encounter to date was a driver rolling over my foot. Some of y'all might remember this from social media that I posted a while back, a couple years ago, but I was wearing a bright LED lit up vest that was blinking multiple colors constantly in the middle of the crosswalk in pitch black dark, so it's not like I wasn't visible. I've seen other people wearing these, which is what encouraged me to get it, because it makes you visible from literally hundreds of feet away. So I'm in the middle of the street crossing, the car's whipping around the corner, so I stopped halfway while crossing the street to avoid getting hit. I felt like if I continued going, I was going to get hit, so it was better to just stop and let them go. But then they stopped, so I assumed, oh, okay, they've seen me, they're letting me cross. The moment I go to proceed and take a step, they drive over my foot. Thankfully, it was slow. I don't know. All I do know is it was like watching myself in an out-of-body experience, because I literally blacked out in rage during this interaction. I just remember like the puzzle pieces of it, cussing out the person. I remember wiggling my toes and checking them and noticing nothing was broken, and I had feeling, and I was like, all right, I'm just going to continue on at this point. The adrenaline rush made for a fast next few miles as I replayed in my head how I wish I could have reacted. I still have the shoes, and they're a pretty interesting reminder. The black tire mark across the toe of the shoe still remains, even after I've run in them multiple times in sweat and they've got ran on. Like, that mark is there as proof of evidence. But even when I have the right of way to cross, I have to keep my head on a swivel and pretend that I'm in a game of Frogger, because people just don't care about stop signs or crosswalks. They're selfish. I mean, hell, they're usually not even paying attention to what they're doing while they're driving. So why should we expect them to be careful and looking out for potential pedestrians or someone on a bike, on a skateboard? I've really contemplated getting a laser and just pointing it at drivers that almost hit me, but I'm trying to be the better person. And also, with my luck, they'd wreck and identify me, since it's not hard being the only bearded guy that's always running around the town. I've definitely pounded on a few hoods and trunks as I've dodged them and gone around them at crosswalks and stop signs. I got to chill out, because people are crazy and, you know, times are getting dangerous out here. But this is the negative of not having trails to run and having to run in the city, because drivers are just not paying attention and they need to do better. You're in a lethal weapon driving at fast speeds. If we hit, I'm the one that's in trouble, not you. You should be careful. Anyways, my next one would be parks with hot water fountains. Again, more of a nuisance, but it makes running suck just that much more. If it was up to me, there would be water fountains at bus stops or busy intersections all over town. Because I've run in some cities that actually had that. They had water fountains kind of scattered around that people exercising could use. And being in a hot state where a lot of people still travel on foot, it would be nice to see more free hydration opportunities. But I understand there's the difficulty of maintaining them, keeping them sanitary. But with that said, there are park and recreation departments that are in place to maintain everything within an actual park. There's nothing worse than doing a physical activity outside in Florida, being thirsty, seeing a water fountain, only to take a sip of 90-degree water. Like, sure, they break sometimes. I've encountered many broken water fountains. I understand that. But when you see the same ones, and actually, that just brings up another point. Like, you get to the broken one, and then it's like, would you rather it be broken or drink the boiling hot water? You're picking the lesser of two evils. Like, as I've increased my long runs, I've increased how much fluid I can carry in my running vest, and I bring money with me to buy stuff at gas stations, but sometimes they're not open or they're further spread out than you expect. So passing a water fountain along the way and finding it either not working or providing that lukewarm or hot water temperature, it's definitely frustrating. Just fix the water fountains, please. Just give us some cold water. I mean, come on. It's not that hard, is it? I don't know. Lastly, I'd say people that block the sidewalk or the path that you're walking, running on. This is just common courtesy, but then again, it's not that common anymore. Common sense is a thing of the past. It should be a given that you don't walk or ride down the middle of the path. If you do, at least get to one side when you're approaching someone. Like, expecting them to get out of your way and either stop and step to the side or run around you into the grass or the road, that's a douche move. Don't be that guy. Don't be that woman. I'm making it sound like guys are always the worst. But you don't own the sidewalk. Like, move to the side, share the path. Because it's even worse when you have on headphones and you can't hear somebody coming up behind you. Like, we try warning you that we're passing, but without fail, we try going around you and either our shadow startles you or you just have this weird timing of wobbling to the side that we tried to pass on. And now we unintentionally bump into you and you get mad. It's not our fault you can't walk in a straight line and you weave side to side like a drunk. Like, I've turned it into a game. Like, I try to be as quiet as I can when I'm approaching someone. And then, like, as I'm getting closer, until I get right up on them, I see if I can startle them. I love seeing them jump or hearing them gasp. Like it's like I'm a running ninja. Shout out Luis Coco. But Maybe just pay attention. Check behind you occasionally. See if someone is coming up behind you. Especially if you have on music and you can't hear what's going on. Just look behind you every 30 seconds, 60 seconds. Just see if someone's coming. Be courteous. But then you throw in groups of 2 or more. Like they feel like they have to walk side by side the entire time. Like it's impossible to make a single file line so we could pass. Sometimes as I'm approaching them, I envision I'm an NFL running back and they're the defense. And I just want to truck right through them with no regard for their safety. But again, I have respect. So I just go around them. Sometimes I say something, sometimes I don't. I just wish people could be considerate of others. Stop being selfish. Stop only thinking about yourself. It's really disappointing when it's a parent with their child because they're just setting that example for them that it's okay. And that's why this problem, as well as the littering, the disregard for crosswalks and stop signs, and many other issues in this world that have nothing to do with this, they still exist because of this. Like idiots continue passing on idiot tendencies to their kids that think it's okay when it's really not. So, okay, I'm gonna calm down. I promise. Despite all of that, I really do enjoy running. Those are just what I consider the top 5 things that typically piss me off when I'm running. And at the end of the day, you can only adapt and try to make it as stress-free as possible. So I look to avoid certain areas or approach them differently. Running as many days and miles around Broward County as I have, I've started to learn the patterns and it's gotten better. I found myself being able to make jokes about these experiences. Hopefully this podcast will be a reminder. Maybe I'll play it to myself when I'm going on certain runs that I'm expecting it. I don't know, but they suck, okay? And they're definitely BS. With that said, I want to end with a laugh. I promised it earlier. I want you to enjoy this hilarious parody of MC Hammer's Can't Touch This by Stewart. It's called Can't Run This. Again, he's from the Running is BS podcast with his co-host Amy. I'll put their link in the show notes in case you want to listen to their show. And feel free to hit me up on social media and tell me what you love to hate about running. Maybe I'm missing something. Maybe I forgot about something. But until the next episode, enjoy this song and enjoy the BS in your next run.
This hill, it hits me so hard. Try to run up it, say, oh my lord, fuck you for giving me this route uphill and 2 shit feet. It feels good when you're running down a super dope homeboy from the end town, and I'm known by some, but this is a hill I can't run. Mate, I told you, I can't run this. Yeah, that's how I'm walking, and you know, I can't run this. Look in my eyes, dude, I can't run this. Yeah, let me bust the bullshit lyrics. Can't run this. Fresh new daps and headband. You're starting in a race and you know it's bad. So move at the starting gun and get a move on. Get this shit done. Now you're running. Hold on. Run a little bit, then stop for a stroll. Like that. Like that. I'm not running this and that's a fact. Let me know if this is fun, but this is a hill I can't run. I told you. I can't run this. I mean, why did you think I would? I can't run this. You know what? Fuck this. I'm out. I can't run this. Give me a snack or sandwich. This race goes on. I'm losing patience now. I know you talk about races where you shouldn't go. They're shit and long. Runners are sweating now. They know they're wrong to go. Don't know what's it going to take for me to learn racing. Bullshit. Don't want to work hard, so I might as well quit. That's word because, you know, I can't run this. I can't run this. Break it down! Stop! Bullshit time.
Thanks for listening to the Mile You're In podcast. If you enjoyed it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe. Check out previous episodes and more at heelstriker954.com.